All right, welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Naija Knows. We have the lovely, yes,
Again today.
and we have this young gentleman with us again, Mr. Terrence, our community therapist. Because I think after this, I think I'm gonna start going to him and get some therapy.
First of all, I just want to point this out. I ain't been called young in a while, so I do appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. You are welcome.
It's not a filter, folks. She called me young. That's legit.
Oh, God. All right. So we are here with another episode, and we are talking about grief, y'all. And I know that's something we've all dealt with, we've experienced. I know I have, still am experiencing it. So how do you guys feel about it? Nika?
Grief is definitely something that prior to my mom passing, I dealt with, but I don't think that I dealt with it in as this close. Because the other people that had passed were, close in some respect, but it's not apparent, you know what I'm saying? So it was like my uncle passed, the next year after that, my grandmother, and then the year after that, my mom. So it was like back to back. So I'm still dealing with it now. Honestly, a lot of times it's been avoidance to a certain extent. Just because I don't want to allow myself to sink into that space because I still got to live and, live life and stuff like that. But I struggle. I won't lie. I struggle. Last year was extremely hard for me. I don't really, talk about it a whole lot, or at least not what probably Felicia, my close people are the only ones that know about it. But I was depressed, a majority of the year, dealing with that feeling of loss and knowing that the person will never come back, and feeling like I want to go home. Was like, well, what home? Your mom is gone, your dad is halfway around the world. Where you going, girl? You ain't got no home. Feel like those type of feelings. So definitely something I dealt with and still struggle with now.
Yeah. Yesterday?
Definitely agree as well. I think we've all had certain loss in different areas. Like I just came back from Florida because I lost my aunt. Like at the end, she just turned 62. So it was like we're planning to do this family reunion in June in Bahamas because that's my mom's side of the family. And it was just like I was just talking to this person, and now we're at this funeral doing this homecoming and learning how to just be supportive to other people that are grieving. It's hard at times, especially when it's closer. Like when it's somebody else, you can kind of stand in that and be that support. But when you're trying to be strong for somebody else and you over here on the phone crying at the same time, it's kind of like you need to be quiet because you need to be there for this person. But yeah, definitely quite a few losses last year that I had to go back and forth. And I've had some back-to-back ones. I think I remember one time 2009, both my grandfather passed away within 4 days of each other. One was in Nigeria, and that was at the time I haven't been back to Nigeria yet. So I was beating myself up about like why I didn't get a chance to meet this person, like although we've had conversations. But I think grief deals with death, and kind of like Terrence mentioned offline, I think you also can grieve who you were at some extent. And that's a lot of things that I'm learning in my healing journey, because I feel like when you shift and people are not used to that shift, there's a lot of resistance. And that's what I'm kind of dealing with the things that I'm learning wasn't healthy. And now I'm trying to correct those things and say, how can we build a stronger and healthier relationship? It's a little bit of tug of war because you can grieve the person that you were because you were certain things to certain people that you got to stand into. And then now you're like, I can't be that anymore because that was detrimental to me and my health. So I think that grieving is on so many different levels and layers, but definitely experiencing that now. And it's a lot.
Yeah. I know for me, I think the hardest part about grief is grieving somebody who's still here. I've dealt with a lot of loss, a lot, and back to back. I'd say the closest one to me was the summer before I went into high school. That's one that hit me the hardest. That was my closest cousin.
Mm-hmm.
But to grieve somebody who's still here, and I'm talking about my mom, Nick knows. My mom suffered a brain aneurysm in 2017. And I remember I just had, it was devastating. I don't know if anybody knows that feeling. When I got that phone call, that person prior to April 21st of 2017, she's no longer here. She does not exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember after that day, like trying to keep hope. Like I saw all these success stories about people who come back from it, who, learn to walk again and, live on their own again. And that wasn't my mom's story. And I found myself asking God, like, why? Why her? Why my mom? Because oh, Lord, I don't want to cry. It's just me. I'm the only kid. So her now being in a nursing home, it's a blessing that she is close to me, but I have to see her spiral down constantly. Now, the aneurysm put her into early onset Alzheimer's, early onset dementia. I go and she's same conversations every time. She's stuck in a loop. And I literally, it's crazy because I have the conversation most days when I go up there, but today I said, today again, God, like, I would be devastated, but I would be okay if you took her home. This is hard for her because she was also a nurse for 30 years. This is no life for her. My mom worked. She enjoyed life. She went on cruises. She was fun to be around. And this is what she's, succumbed to. So I would definitely be devastated, but I grieve every single day. I see my phone ring and it's the nursing home, and it's like I stop breathing because it's this the day I'm gonna get the phone call. It's like I grieved when she was in a neuro ICU in a coma for 3 months. I'm grieving, thinking, okay, well, is she gonna get better? Is she not gonna get better? And now it's almost 7 years later, I'm still grieving. It's like now I'm again waiting for her to die. So it's a daily battle, a daily struggle. And I remember when her favorite her favorite niece, she passed away. My uncle, he actually lost all three of his kids, but I'm closest with that uncle and his children. And everybody's calling me, are you going to tell your mom? And I'm like, I just need everybody just to leave me alone. But it's crazy because my mom's very intuitive. She actually called me a week before and left a message on my phone. It told me my cousin passed away. So it's a lot that falls on my shoulders when it comes to her. So grieving somebody who's gone, it's heavy, it's sad, it hurts. I know that feeling, but grieving while somebody's still here and you're watching their decline.
Yeah, and I have to say, Felicia, I tell you this, but I give you your props because I told her before, like, because I've gone, a few times to see her mom and, on FaceTime, we'll talk on the phone or whatever. But I'm like, I don't know if I could do it. I mean, luckily, I guess if I want to even use that word for my mom, it was very quick, within 3-4 months she had passed. But to go and, I mean, Felicia does it faithfully every day, taking her food, and I'm not gonna cry. Stop taking her food, washing her, bathing her, getting her, making her sure her cleaning her teeth, like everything. And I'm just like, when I have gone and seen it, it's just like I don't know if I could do that every day for this long. Like that's a heavy, heavy load to carry. So I commend you for doing it and keep doing it because a lot of times people just stick them in a nursing home and just leave and never go back.
Forget about them.
But you still go every day, faithfully. And like you said, you're an only child, no siblings. So it's literally just you, to even carry that load. So Terrence, give us some good words. How do we deal with this stuff?
Dumped a lot.
No,
Don't leave now. Don't leave.
He put up the church finger.
Okay.
no. When it comes to grief, that's something that we coming into it where we have the expectancy that at some point we'll get over it. And the truth is you don't. There's more to grief. Each of you have pointed out a different stage of grief. Yejide broadened it and she mentioned it. Like there are other things to grieve. Like I lost my job, and I was cool until my wife got her first check after I've lost my job. And for as much as I would throw a middle finger up at my previous employer, I grieved, because I was, how are you going to provide? There's a hole in the finances in our home right now. Who's going to, what if? And then, and so now my process starts. One thing I did learn is, and it sounds like Fee is in that she goes through that bargaining. We always hear about the Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief, and it's kind of mislabeled because it's not like a checklist. Oh, yep, I'm bargaining today. That means eventually I should be the acceptance. No, you're bargaining today, and you'll be in depression tomorrow, and then you'll be bargaining the day after that. It's just a cycle that we go through until we eventually, I don't want to say get used to it, but it has less of an impact. But a fragrance, a color, song, a dream, holiday. It's 1955 and 52 seconds, and you're there all over again. And you were just in acceptance. You were just there. And now you're right back in it. You're missing someone. You're missing something. It's just a continuous cycle. The best thing that I could say for anyone, myself included, have resources around. Sometimes, and as you know, I'm a Christian. Sometimes, and this is something that I've struggled with, right? Because man, don't get me going. Because I always think about, well, no, I always think about my aunt, right? And because she was like a mother to me, right? And she never got to see my wife, my kids. She never got to see any of my success. And I'm handling that like literally now better than I ever have, because normally I'd be just tears flowing because that hurts, right? And I always ask, like, well, what, in my bargaining phase, who's going to take her place? What's going to be that thing there or person to fill in the gap? And last year I learned there are times where no one's coming. You are the answer to your prayer. You have to be your own strength. Sometimes, that's why the Bible, again, my bad, y'all, but the Bible talks about reinforcing yourself in the word. Sometimes you got to build yourself up because ain't nobody else going to do it. The tools were given to you to do your own renovations. So you know what? There's a hole. Sometimes someone's going to come help you patch that hole. There are going to be days where it's just you to fill that hole in. So the biggest thing I could say is to find resources. Identify how you process out. When you feel yourself descending into that depression about missing that person, that thing, that whatever. All right, I'm here. Because sometimes fighting it, it's like quicksand. The more you fight it, the more you sink. Sometimes just sink. Know you're going. Hey, you know what? Hey, I'll be back, God. Set the stage because you know where you're going. You've been there. Get there. All right, I'm here. How am I going to get out? Right? Accept it. It's dark right now. Shit sucks right now. I'm hurting right now. I miss this person, I miss this noun, person, place, or thing. I really miss it. And I wish they were here. But for whatever reason, this is what I have now. Now what am I going to do? And rationally kind of build it may take some days. Like with Fee, I can empathize with you because my mother is mentally ill. All right. So to get on the phone with her and she's asking me, so, what'd you do yesterday? Oh, I did this and this and this and this and this. Oh, okay. That sounds good. So yesterday, what'd you do? Well, Mom, I did this and this and this and this and this and this. Oh man, that sounds great. Yeah. So what happened yesterday?
Mm.
And it's almost like little by little. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like,
Nah, you
doesn't
good.
your heart break a little bit?
Mm.
Yeah, because like you, I'm her only.
Mm.
I'm the only. So what sucks for me is I know who she was, just like
Mm.
you. I saw the break.
Yeah.
And then the spiral.
Mm.
Only as I'm growing, I grew angry and
Yes.
resentment kicked in. And I started just like she would call and I'd hate the fact that the phone would ring. And what, mom? And it's
Mm.
just the same cycle
Cycle.
of questions. Oh my freaking God. Like what? And then to have relatives say, well, that's your mama. Bitch, I
Mm.
don't need you to tell me that. I know that. I
Mhm.
knew that from the day I popped out and took my first breath. That's mom. Instinctively, right? I don't need you to tell me that. Are you going to help me or are you just a voice? And then resentment churns up again because now it's just like you. Lord, you know what? It would hurt. It would cut me to my genetic makeup. My DNA will be affected.
Mm.
But wouldn't it be more peaceful, Father, if you just.
Take her home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every day I get a phone call at some weird ass hour. Hey, all right, Father.
Mm.
Okay, all right. And I talk, and then eventually it's, all right, Mom. Well, I gotta go. I hit you up when I can,
Mm.
and we'll hang up. About 4 or 5 minutes later, phone will ring as if she never spoke to me, right? And the first time I had to block my mom, I cried.
Mm.
I gotta go to work. How am I? Let me identify my resources.
Right.
Nudge my wife. Hey, your mom-in-law finna drive me nuts, man. Because I use humor as the buffer. That's my defense mechanism.
Right.
I make it could be the gravest thing. The earth is being swallowed up. Black hole. Grave. And I'll find a way to make that funny. We will die laughing. Quite
Mm.
literally, right? Your mother-in-law finna drive me nuts, man. And I'm really thinking about blocking her number.
Mm.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and saw the pain in my face and said, love, if you can't do it, I'll do it for you. Okay.
Oh,
Mm.
Resources. And so I blocked her number. That hurt because that's
Mm.
my mama. I blocked her. But I slept and I prayed that night. I slept. I woke up the next morning and called her back. Mom, was there anything you wanted? Knowing the answer. No, I just wanted to talk to you about. All right, Mom, I'll check you later. All right. Some days are great, some days aren't. Right. And so you got to identify your resources.
I'm
It's not always going to
definitely,
be the same thing.
yeah, I'm definitely learning to do that more. Actually, a conversation with another friend because she's, somebody else that I talked to about it. And so she was like, okay, this is 2024. So what are we going to do? What do I need to do for you? Even offering her own help to make sure that you're not, sitting in the house for days on end crying. Cause that's basically what was happening. I ain't really telling nobody. Felicia's pretty much the only person, hold on, that
mm.
knew about it. Because holidays are really hard, especially Christmas, because my mom loved Christmas, her birthday. So it's like basically the whole year. She died in February, then her birthday September, Christmas, my birthday right after. She was always her and my dad, first person to call me at midnight, happy birthday, baby, and missing that stuff. And then of course with my children, especially my older one, it's like, dang, Joseph was her baby. That's what she used to tell me. You were just a surrogate. That's my baby. And so to see him growing and like the first probably like 2 or 3 years, like I would still instinctively like, oh, let me call mine and tell her what Joseph did, tell her what Caleb did. Like, dang, I can't call her. And I had this because she used to come stay with me. Oh, I'm just gonna come stay for a couple of days, and then 3 months later, she's still there, getting on my nerves. But she had this jar of cocoa butter because she would use that, as lotion.
Mm.
And I was moving, and I saw it because she had left it at the house and it still had her fingerprints in it. It took me like, I think 3 or 4 years before I finally actually used it and finally used it up because it had her fingerprints in it. Like I still had her phone number in my phone, even though I know somebody else got that phone number now. I still had it saved under mommy, and it's just like I never, I guess, really allowed myself probably till last year to like actually fully feel a lot of those things because it happened. We knew she had the cancer and all that, but then when she was in the hospital, and then we're all there, and then it's like as soon as she had me listed as her medical, what do you call it?
POA.
Proxy.
Decisions. Yeah. So even though we did it as a family decision, it's like they come to you like, hey, do we pull the plug? So, I was talking to her because they said she was brain dead. And, we're talking to her and she squeezed my hand. So to me, that was like a signal like, wait, she's still here. She squeezed my hand. Like, oh, it's just the nerves or whatever. Anyway, we decided to go ahead and pull the plug because she had a do not resuscitate on her paperwork that she had filled out. And it's like, as soon as it happens, they come and like, okay, so what funeral home, what, and it's just like, you trying to process what actually just happened, and the family is coming in and everything, saying their goodbyes. My son is crying, my little one, he was little, he didn't really understand fully what was going on. But it's just like, boom, 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 boom. And then it's like, oh, shoot, well, we got to find a funeral home. And like next morning, we're at the funeral home planning and making the arrangements. And then it's like, oh, wait, let me go find her notebooks because she had everything written out how she wanted it. Let me call this person. Oh, this person didn't answer. Call. Calling all these people. They're all calling me back. And then oh, we got to find a church. Oh, who's going to do the eulogy? It was just like so fast from she died on a Tuesday. The wake was like that Wednesday, or she died on Wednesday. The wake was like that Friday. And then the memorial service was that Saturday. So it was a very fast process. And then, people have the best intentions. But the more people were asking me if I was okay or saying I'm sorry, for the angrier it was making me. Like one time, my son's father, he called me by my mom's name. He didn't mean nothing by it. I looked exactly like her. People have been doing that my entire life. But that junk made me so angry. Like, how dare you even speak her name? Like, that's how I felt. And I didn't say that to him, but it was just like, it bothered me. And I knew it wasn't him. Again, it was just my own angry. And honestly, I was like, all that God stuff, I ain't worried about that because she was praying hard. And look, she still died, and she was telling us a bunch of things that happened to her over the course of her life. And it's like, dang, she went through all of that. And then that's how she got to go. Like, that's really messed up. Like, what kind of God are you? That was my, way I felt. I'm like, I ain't worried about no God. I ain't worried about no church. I ain't worried about, you can miss me with all that. That was my attitude. It took a while to sort of, deal with stuff and come around from that. But it was just like, I never allowed myself to really fully, I didn't have a chance to in the beginning. I never allowed myself because like, well, if I sink into this, my son is feeling it too, because that was his honeygrams, he remembers her very well. They raised him, essentially, helped me raise him the first 6-7 years of his life. So he's dealing with it too. So I can't allow myself to sink into this hole because I got to be here for my children. I still got to work. I still got to go to blah, blah, blah. But all this, eventually caught up to me last year, I guess was the year that it caught up to me. I just found myself like days not wanting to come out of my room, not wanting to do anything. You would never know that from looking at my social media because it's like, oh, she out, Sheba. Yeah, those were the times that I actually felt okay to go outside of the house. The rest of the time I'm in the house just crying, basically. But one of my friends, when she did ask me, back to my initial point, one of the things I found that did help me was watching the old movies that she liked. So I've been watching like on repeat. Felicia knows I Love Lucy, Andy Griffith Show, Pink Panther, like all the movies, the Bad Seed, all these old black and white movies that I know she likes. And I just sit there sometimes and I remember her laughing and remember our conversations when we're watching it. And I've seen the movies a gazillion times to know them, every single line of it. But that really helped me. And I called my friend like, you know what, you really helped me to, kind of figure this thing out and process. So definitely finding a process, like you said, is what I'm learning is helping me to, not sit in depression, for days.
Yeah, because go ahead. Yeah, Jay, my bad.
I'm about to say, y'all over here about to make me cry. No, because you like when you listen to somebody else talk about their grief, you automatically also kind of recounting your experiences. Like even with Felicia saying, like my grandma, she had dementia and Alzheimer's. So at one point, I had to go through the stages of that with her, with the visits, and then it went from her knowing exactly who I was till conversations kind of seemed like she wasn't sure. Then it will be, you'll hear her say to somebody else after I finish having a whole conversation. I'm like, okay, good. She's not doing as bad. And then I'll hear her ask my mom, who's that pretty girl? And I would go in, like, when we get in the car, I'll just start crying because I'm like, she doesn't even know who I am. And then it got to the point that she stopped talking.
Yeah.
So she was just there. So I totally can identify when you say grieving someone that's still alive. And she lasted a long time. So it just got to the point we would still have, when I was in town, birthday parties, and we'll all come to my grandma's house. We'll sing to her. But in my mind, I'm like, does she even know? Can she even feel our presence? Like, it's just like she's there. She dressed up, she looking cute, but it's like she's not the person that we knew her to be. Like, my grandma was an educator. So she was everybody's pretty much first teacher at Head Start. So that was one of the things that I remember fighting with other kids because I didn't call her Mrs. Williams. I called her grandma. And then other kids would try to call her grandma. I'm like, no.
That ain't your grandma.
False. That's my grandma. You don't get to call her that. So we just think about, again, pastor grandchild. So my grandma would, lead the songs, scriptures and stuff like that. And you get in church and you're waiting for that to happen and she's not there. So it's a very emotional thing to see someone decline. I've had family members that have passed from HIV, never learned what that was like until you got to see it and you see how they deteriorate and they're not themselves. And it's just like, wow, like you're kind of in a sense asking for that mercy call, like, yo, just let them be at peace. It's a lot of suffering. Yeah. Like, I know they don't like us seeing, like, you sitting there trying to be strong and joke and they're sitting there like, oh, don't cry. And I'm like, shoot, I'm worried about you talking about don't cry. Like, what's going on? But I think the biggest thing that I'm learning with grief through, like, again, I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna pound it in the ground, and I hope people really, Psychology Today, find your resources with therapy, find a support group, if it's something that you're dealing with, someone died with drunk driving, whatever, find support groups in regards to that, people that could kind of sit with you in that same experience. Find you friends that are going to give you the space that you need. And one of the things that I learned to be a better communicator, I learned to reach out to people and say, hey, I know you mean well, but please don't stop sending me texts. I may not reply, but it's good to know that you're thinking about me. Just give me the space to reply when I'm ready, because people are always going to have questions, but you need to understand that that's not how I deal with my grief. Some people, they may want you to call them right away, right when it happened. They want to talk about it. Me, I want to feel my feelings. And I always say, allow yourself to feel your feelings. I allow myself to feel my feelings, and whether that is to withdraw, whether that is to, I call it purge, which is crying. Sometimes I say, I just need to purge. Like, sometimes I just realize, like, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, and I'll go to my husband, I'm like, I'm gonna go in a room and I just need to purge. And I'll turn on my gospel music and I'll just start, and all my frustrations, I'll just tell God, and I'll listen to my favorite gospel songs and I'll just let it out. Just tears hot, my face hot, everything. And then I'll come out and be like, I needed that. I needed that release. And so, like, even with my cousin, with my aunt passing just recently, when I came back from Florida, she was the point of contact. So she didn't have that time to sit there and grieve, because everybody's, where's the funeral? Where's the arrangement? What time is this, that, and the other? So every time, what I did, I reached out to her and I said, I'm here if you need me. Don't hesitate to ask. I'm not physically in Florida, but I have, we have family there. If you need me to take some of that off of your plate, give it to me. Let me do it. And she asked me to do some things. And then a couple of times she didn't respond to me at all. I just checked in. I said, look, what do you prefer? Do you prefer for me to call you? Do you prefer for me to text? And she was like, you know what? Right now, because I can't get to everybody, a text is fine. So sometimes just respecting the space that the people need and just say, what do you need from me? And let them say it. And sometimes just understand, just because they don't respond don't mean they don't hear it, they don't appreciate it. But sometimes you just have to just let people know you're thinking about it and leave it. And they'll come back around when they're ready.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what people need to understand too. Some people are so eager to want to help and be the savior in a situation. And sometimes we don't need you to be the savior. We just need you to, hey, I need just 2 hours for nobody to hit this phone up and ask me Shit. Uh-huh. And that's all I need from you is just, hey, you know what? If someone's in the hospital, you need somebody. I just need somebody to sit on the bedside where I can go get a quick nap, get something to eat, and try to take care of myself. That's what you need sometimes. So I think it's asking people what they need. But I totally get it. When you miss somebody and they do pass, and I think what has helped me, you said watching your mom's favorite videos. I think what helps me is celebrating their life. I think a lot of people don't think of it that way. I say, how can I celebrate their life? I think about all the great memories that we've had and all the positives. I don't think about how I saw them last.
Mm.
I think about like, what was this person when they were their true self? And then I smile in those moments and I say, you know what? I'm blessed. Like, I'm blessed to have had my grandma into my adult years. I remember in elementary telling my friends, like, oh, I went to my grandparents' house. I spent a night, all my cousins were there. And I'm like, I never met my grandma. And I'm sitting here being bitter. I've had this lady till that my adult years. And I'm just like, not a lot of people don't have that. So I think it's a beautiful thing when you can find the support, but when you're kind of struggling for that, it is very, very difficult. But when you start learning about yourself and finding out where you can get those resources or tell people where you need them to be exactly when you need them to be, and they're reliable and they stand in that, it's a beautiful thing that I think the difference between like dealing with my grandmother, it was like she had a gang of kids. Then we got like a really, really big family. So we were able to kind of talk to each other in that grieving, and some people took things to the extreme, and other people were like on the other side of the spectrum. So those are ones that were like on the extreme, like I couldn't deal with. Like I'm a very emotional person. I'm an empath. So I can't take a lot of people just like emotionally dumping on me because I feel everything. So I would kind of have to distance myself from that. But you you have that support sometimes. And like you said, with you guys being only children, I really commend you because it's really hard to not have someone to sound off of that. And I just want to thank everybody, honestly, because we the bond for just being this vulnerable on this podcast right now.
Yes.
Because I'm listening to everybody and I'm like,
I have a question though. How do you deal with grief when you do have those moments where you want to retreat and you're in a relationship and you don't want to talk? You just want to isolate. How do you do that? Or how do you cope with that if you're in a relationship?
I still retreat, but I communicate it. I tell them, I say, babe, right now I just need to be and sit with myself. I'm going there, I'm gonna run me a bath, and I'm being there for an hour or so. Please bring me some wine. I'm gonna play my music, and I just need to be. But I communicate it. And sometimes it's part of just knowing your partner too. He can feel me when I'm doing it, like, because I just will get very quiet because I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to process. I like to process things first before I can effectively communicate it. And sometimes he'll beat me to the punch and he'll say, your energy's off. What's going on? And then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna talk about it. This is what I'm feeling. Yeah, I think I need some time. I need some time. And like our marriage is still pretty fresh. We're 2 years in. So like just living with somebody, period, is something different for me. So I'm like, I gotta see the person every day. Like that's a shocker too. You know, like, I wake up, I see you every damn day. And you learn to love that. But like I think communicating it is the best way, and they allow you that space. And he understands how I am. So he'll tell me. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, retail therapy is my friend sometimes. Sometimes I just like to go and roam in the stores. I'll be going for hours. And he'll be like, oh, you gonna go spend some alone time? I said, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And he gives me the space. And then when I come back, I'm like, I'm ready to talk and I'm ready to like be present in our partnership.
Yeah.
For me, I've learned self-care is not selfish. And when we think of self-care, we think of massages and, I'm going to sit out on the beach. Crying is self-care because that's release. If you're in that moment where you need to just get it out, get it out. It's best to just be transparent. Like, hey, look, I'm having a moment. I'll be back. And go have it. Like she pointed out, like her husband I could read my wife. She'll have a moment. I say, you're battling right now, right? And she'll say, yeah. And I ask her, how's the best way I can support you right now in this moment? You don't have to answer. Just let me know when you come up with something. But until then, I'm here. Or if I'm in the office, hey, until then, I'm in the office or I'm in the kitchen. I need her to know where I am. And I got my phone with me. She'll send me a text. Love, I'm in the room. There's not reply, right? So if you're in that partnership, if you got to take a moment, take a moment. That's real. To the worst thing you could do is try to fight that off. Right?
So,
Because go ahead.
I was gonna say in that same, sort of vein, I'm not in a relationship. So there isn't anybody for me to be like, hey, I need some alone time. I'm a parent. So like what do you recommend or how do you think as a parent? Because my older one, because he knew my mother, better, he had more time with her than my younger one did. He kind of remembers her, but not a whole lot because he was, he was a baby essentially. He was what, 2 when she passed away, 2 or 3. So my older one is a lot more sensitive. Also, I had him young and he went through a lot of my growing pains and growing up and stuff with me. So he's way more sensitive to my moods and stuff like that. And he can kind of tell, and he'll come, give me random hugs and, oh, mommy, I miss honey grams. He'll do that sometimes. But I also am very, and partially because of how I type of emotional, sometimes I don't want to say volatile, but sometimes volatile environment I grew up in. I'm very keen on not on making sure that I'm not affecting my children because I'm like super paranoid on not messing them up. Like I don't want them to be, 30, 35, having all these emotional issues that they got to work through because their mama was messed up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very, very aware and very careful about how I guess I express my emotions and when I do it because again, I don't want to mess them up. They are boys. Boys are different. They're taught not to express emotion. Now I tell them with me, with your mama, you can cry, you can feel whatever you want in this house. As long as with your mama outside, I know they're gonna tell you you're not supposed to do that. But at home with me, I want you to do that because that way I can help you. We can work through whatever it is together. But because I'm the parent and they're the child, they don't necessarily know like, hey, mommy needs a hug right now, or mommy needs alone time. They're just, they're just kid. Well, the other one, he's 21, so it was a little bit different. But the younger one, he's just a kid. He just want to play his game and eat. So sometimes I struggle because it's like, yeah, I really want to just go in my room, but I can't right now because I need to cook dinner. I need to make sure homework is done. I need to, make sure the house is clean and laundry and all these other things. So sometimes what do you recommend or what is a good way to, still get that time when you're a full-time parent?
But you kind of touched on it. In very little instances, you've done it. You've taught them. So in those moments, because we always think our parents are superheroes, and we're shocked when they show some vulnerability. Like the first time I saw my dad cry, I didn't know what the hell to do. Like, this nigga cried? What? Okay. Okay. Oh, so he's human, right? Teach him. Teach him. Like, hey, there are moments when mommy will need to kind of take a step away from you. I'm here. I'm always here. But in this moment, I'm just going to be in another space and explain it to him. Because I'm certain he understands to a certain degree. Because it's some, we don't like to think about it, but death is a part of life.
Yeah.
So at some point, he's going to have to deal with it. And the worst thing, we're so, as parents, we're so meticulous about not wanting to mess our kids up. We screw them up anyway. Right? It's okay for them to be a little screwed up because we're all a little screwed up. Every last one of us got some sort of that we look like and like, yeah, I'm kind of off on that, right? Just teach them those moments so therefore when he has to deal with grief, he can say, my mama used to step away. You know what? Let me step away so that I can be a better man for my partner, a father for my children. Because again, if you're fighting that, you're going to be fighting that through every interaction you have throughout your day. Someone's going to walk up happy, hey, how are you? And you so happy for because you're trying to fight that emotion and everything is a struggle. Life is hard on its own. Don't add to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, it's like I pointed out, crying. It's a release. That's you getting stuff off of you. I think about a couple years ago, I had another aunt that died, and I fought that grief like like straight like a runaway slave, trying to be captured. Like I fought it. Even at the funeral, I hid her in the casket. When they handed out the obits, I didn't want one. Because I could not put myself in the spot where I was when my other aunt died. I couldn't go there again. I got motherfucking image, man. What? You ain't finna see me up in here, even though everyone that was in the funeral knew I'm a ball of water when you're in the right moment, right? But I fought it, and everything was a struggle. Paying bills, cooking, like 90% of the cooking that's done in my house, I do. Everything was burnt. Like I'm burning easy stuff. How you burn ramen? I was burning stuff, and it's like, man, I don't know, man. You know what? If you don't like it, you cook it. And it's not even them. It's I haven't grieved my aunt yet. And one day, I was watching Aretha Franklin. It was a little documentary they made where she's recording the album in the church, and James Cleveland was on the keys. I forgot what it's called, like Make a Joyful Noise or something. And I was just in there watching it because I'm geeked about music. I love music. But I was introduced to Aretha Franklin by that aunt. I didn't even connect that. I just want to see Aretha Franklin blow. And she hit one note and it was over. I was on the floor. I was a ball of just emotion. And then I realized what had happened just then. And I also realized how much better I felt afterward. I acknowledged it, dealt with it, because it's real. It's as real as, yourself, and it's real. And processed through it. And then I reached out to my resource. My biggest resource is my wife. I called her. Hey, you okay? Because you never called me at this time. I said, yeah, I just grieved my aunt. I just grieved. I had a moment. That's what we'll say. I had a moment, and I just grieved my aunt. She says, you need me to come home? I said, no, I'm good now. And I'm sorry at the spears I threw at you over the past couple of weeks. That was me not having this and trying my best to not let that happen. Daughter came home, I apologized to her. Hey, your father's human. I do the best I can with the information that I got. I messed up. And this is how, this is what. And I told her, like, yeah, I was a mess in there in that room watching this movie right here. She instantly, oh, that's like how you cry about Granny B. That's my mom. That's how you cry about Granny B whenever Bridge Over Troubled Water comes on. Like, yeah, trying to keeping notes on me, dog. Like, FBI, god dang, I ain't talking to you no more. You an informant, right? But she understood it. Okay. And so now when she goes and she'll say, Daddy, I need a moment. I'll be in my room. Just like you, I'm going to play some music, but I'm okay. If I feel like it's getting out of control, I'll reach out to you and Mom. Bet. That's all I ask. So to answer your question, teach him. In those moments, teach him. Talk to him. Whether you're in a high or low, you'll know when it's best for you to do it, Niket. But teach him, hey, this is something that you'll have to deal with at some point in your life. And this is how I do it. And if I have to step away, not that I don't love you, it's not that I'm not available per se. I'm always here for you. But sometimes mommy has to take a moment just so I could be the better mommy for you. And just, that would be the biggest thing.
Kind of wanted to touch on kind of usually what you said, like grieving the loss of who you were, who someone else was. Because
Yeah.
not even in a death type of situation, I think we've all on some level have dealt with either friendships or family relationships or whatever changing because we're not the same, people pleaser or whatever it is that we used to be. And sometimes people don't know how to, deal with that or handle that. And then it's hard, at least for me in my experience, it's been extremely hard because I'm the type of person like if I love you, I love you. You know what I'm saying? And I'll take a lot of stuff from you before I decide like, okay, I can't mess with you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll
Mhm.
do anything I can for you because I love you. So having to now deal with a loss of, not romantic, but, other types of relationships because I'm not that same person anymore that used to just take it. You know, I don't just sit and just not say anything anymore. Now, if you give it to me, I'm giving it right back. Because I know me and how I am, it's best I have to disconnect myself because I don't want to operate that way anymore. I want to live, move different, live different, elevate, grow, progress. And a lot of times, over the probably last 3 years or so, it has resulted in a loss of, relationships. So how do you, I don't know, what do y'all think about that? Because that's been extremely hard for me. I have a hard time
I
letting go.
think grieving friendships is equally as hard. I mean, especially when it's a long friendship. A person who's been there, for decades. I mean, at that point, you're family. So yeah, I mean, that can be just as traumatic. And then you're grieving yourself too, because you were a different person in that relationship and you've grown, the other person may not have. So it's just so many components of grieving that are happening within that scenario.
Reasons and seasons,
Yeah.
We all kind of start like this, paralleling, and as life goes on, it's not that you don't love them anymore, just can't always be around the same people as you grow.
Can't take everybody with you.
Yeah, precisely. It's like one thing I tell the couples: you leave for work at 8 a.m., kiss each other, I love you. All right, go to work. 8 hours have gone by. There's 8 hours of information, incidents, accidents, occurrences, whatever, that you've now learned and processed. When you return at 7 o'clock, you're not the same person that you were at 8 o'clock that day. Same face, maybe, but you're not the same person. Now you have to choose to love this new person that just made it home. So with these friends, again, that just goes back to self-care. Isn't selfish. Sometimes you just can't take them. As you, like you said, if you've grown, as you've changed, as you become who you're supposed to be, if they're the square peg and now you're in what's now a round hole, they don't fit. You can still love them, but I love you from over there because you can't fit over here. It's a bunch of circles over here, dog. Compartmentalization is another tool that I try to help people with that everyone should learn. Just, I think of the movie Dr. Sleep. I don't know if y'all saw it, but I'm a shoe guy. Either way, I'm a shoe guy. I'm a sneakerhead. So you could walk into my closet and it looks like a Foot Locker. So in my mind, I picture me taking people in situations, shoving them in the shoebox because I can't wear every pair at once. It's when I choose to wear that pair, I'm gonna go in that box, open it up, do what I have to do to make sure that shoe is on point, wear it, do what I have to do with it. And when it's done, I let it breathe, clean it off if I have to, put it back in its box, back in its place. Certain relationship you have to treat like shoes. When you need it, they're always there. You love them all equally. But you know what? Let me brush this shoe off. Let me brush this relationship off. Hey, how have you been? Let's catch up. Gotta use it, gotta use it. Gotta do what you're gonna do with it, gonna do what you're gonna do with it. When it's done, you let it breathe. Gotta get that space. Now, maybe I have to clean some things up. Hey, man, it's nice talking with you, man. Hey, it might be another 3 or 4 months before we talk again. But you know what? Man, I'm glad we spoke today or we spoke then. Bet. All right. back in the box, put that box back where it goes. And that's how we kind of have to handle a lot of our situations as we go through life, friends, situations, isms, you name it. Some things just have to be shoved in a box and dealt with at a later time, but you got to deal with it, or else it's useless. Why is it there? It's taking up space.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important to know when to get rid of the shoes as well.
Yes. Sometimes you just got to
Sometimes
completely
the
donate the
sole is
shoes.
coming off, it's like, oh, I can't wear these anymore. Can't even flopping around with a broken shoe.
No, we definitely
Hey, I'm a
talked about
man.
that over our last visit, right? Like we're just talking about relationships with, like you said, it can be family, it can be with friends, and I think one of the things that we kind of touched on the last time I was there was more so like sometimes you're caught in that ideal world that, oh, at the end of the day, you should always have family. And you always think that you have to continue to try because it's family. And you get in that denial thing, like this person should be this for me, or, this friend should be this for me because I've been X, Y, and Z to them. And then you just really realize that sometimes life don't work that way. And sometimes you may have an idea of what you desire as a healthy, good bonding relationship with someone, and that's not on their agenda. And I had to come out of the denial stage, knowing that this person will never be who I need and want them to be because of their own selfishness and their desire not to change and grow together, and to say, like, you know what, relationships, regardless if they're romantic, platonic, it requires work on both ends. And although relationships will never be 50-50, it requires both people to be working towards the same goal. And I have learned to say, you know what? It's okay for me now to step back. You know what? I still love you. I will still do anything for you. I'm not going to let nobody talk bad about you. All these things, I will still be your protector. But as far as protecting my peace, I'm not going to let you disrupt that anymore.
Yep.
And so that might mean I'm not going to pick up every phone call no more. I'm going to call you back when I have time to talk to you. And you know what? If you're somebody that don't want to ask nobody how they doing, guess what? If I have the mental bandwidth, the capacity to take on what you given, sometimes I literally have to tell myself, okay, this person's calling. Do I want to pick up? Do I have the mental capacity right now for this? Or am I just overwhelmed? Sometimes I look at it and say, not today. Other times I say, you know what? I'm gonna give this person 15 minutes of my time. That's
Yeah.
it. I literally look at the timer. I let them talk. Yeah, 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 yeah. I look at it 14 minutes and 30 seconds. As soon as that hit 15, all right, it was good talking to you, but I gotta go. And I learned to stop giving people excuses. You don't have to give an excuse. If your answer is no, I don't say, it's no because I had to do this and that. No, it's no. I don't need to give an excuse or an explanation for why my answer is my answer. And before, when you're a people pleaser, you feel you have to justify everything so that they will accept it because they know you're the type of person that will do everything they ask you to do. So when you tell them no, it's like you got to come up with a whole grocery list to justify, and they're still telling you, you got time. No, I don't.
Yeah.
So
And
now I just say no.
that's what I have definitely learned. I was, I'm not gonna get into a whole bunch of details, but on the phone, and Tori was here at the time, and she was telling me, hang up, because I'm now like feeling like even though I didn't do anything, feeling like I have to defend myself or explain because this person didn't like certain, things that they felt like I was doing, which yesterday,
It sounds like a
off they rock,
not
off
mine.
they rock. But it took me some time. But I always remember Tori telling me that hang up the phone, and now I've have to tell myself to do it, but I've gotten more comfortable with just saying no. You know what? No, I'm not coming. No, I'm not going to
Dog,
do that.
no. There
And
you
that's it.
go.
And I'm not going to
Protect
explain it.
your
I don't
peace.
have to explain it because
I don't want to.
sometimes exactly. That's what I say. Because sometimes it's not no long explanation. I just don't want to. Period. I just want to be at home, or I just want to go do something else. But
Y'all
it
have
took me a
fun.
while. Exactly. Have a good time. But I'm just not going to go just because I'm not going.
Right.
So it took me a while to get there, but what you're saying, I 100% agree. Like I've definitely, struggled with boundaries in the past, being a
Yes.
people pleaser, being a peacemaker, maybe I got to make sure everybody's good. I don't like tension. Like I don't like to go to sleep with tension. Like I got to make sure everybody's at least calm, then I can sleep peacefully. Even growing up with my parents, like I could, because I'm an empath, so sensitive to energy and people's spirits and stuff like that. I wouldn't even be able to sleep. Like if I knew my parents were arguing, I could struggle to sleep even
Just
as
be
a little
like,
kid, because it's just like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna get divorced? Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Who am I gonna live with? Like this would be my brain at like 7 years old, going through all these scenarios. But as I've gotten older, especially again at this age, I keep talking about my age because I feel like it has a lot to do with it.
And it does.
Learning life, and then just not, excuse my language, sometimes just plain out not giving a fuck. Like you know what? I don't care. I just literally don't care anymore. So whatever it is, that's it. Whatever you say it is, that's what it is.
Yep.
That's what I be telling people now. Whatever you think it is, or you say
that's what it is.
We gonna go with that. Are we at
You
peace?
say 2 + 2 = 8. Okay, it do.
Okay, girl.
The sky's purple today.
Go ahead, you figure that out. I'm going to bed.
And sleep real good too.
Mouth open, drool, snoring. Who is that? Oh, that's me.
I just say, God, give me peace. Let me
Yeah, because I felt like once I got a hold of that peace, like real true peace, like, oh no, I'm not letting this go.
No.
It's like an infant. You can't get nothing out of that hand when it's clutched. Exactly. I'm like, I ain't letting it go.
Yeah, so I think that's okay. I think that's really, important as well. And again, thank y'all so much for listening, for joining. We'll put all of our socials up there. Again, we got Terrence,
yes.
Dr. Terrence. Okay, Dr. Terrence Lewis. He is at 360 Counseling in Clearwater, Florida. You can look them up, schedule, a time with him because he's good at what he does. As you can tell, from the last couple episodes, very good at what he does. So, any last words, last comments?
Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff.
Yes, interact with us. Tell us how you deal with grief, how you, what you think about what we said. Give us your own advice. What has helped you. We appreciate any and all feedback and interaction. And that's all we got for y'all.
All right, y'all.
Peace out.
We out.